Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and you have found the Dad's Drinking Bourbon podcast. The wives are in bed. The kids are in bed. We're ready to sit around and drink whiskey. Say hello to the folks, Zeke.
Hello. Thanks for stopping by as always. We are certainly appreciative of anyone that wants to lend us their ear as we explore some bourbon or bourbons and give our opinion or opinions and have
I'm
fun,
glad I
hopefully.
deleted the last couple ones because that was a better opening than you had than the other ones.
And they've all been different. You know how hard I'm working right now?
Zeke is working so hard, but he's so chipper today that I could take advantage of that because your Georgia Bulldogs are now in the college football playoff, aren't they?
They are. First time. Looking good. Good day for the Bulldog Nation. And not to divert from our original purpose of bourbon, but I will relish in that victory and look forward to in about a month when we get to play the Oklahoma Sooners.
Are you going to go to any of the games?
Should we be fortunate enough to win in the Rose Bowl, which is not a very locale-friendly spot for Georgia, but should we win that game, the national championship this year is of all things in Atlanta. Over a decade ago, me and the guys from school made a pact, should the Dogs ever make it, we would do what was necessary to at least all be together. I don't know if we'd cough up the money for a game. I personally would probably just rather have some good bourbon in a private space to enjoy.
But isn't that kind of unfair so Pasadena is great, but if they should go to the national championship, it's kind of like an unfair home game for the Bulldogs, isn't it?
There's nothing unfair about it. That's fair, John. That's life.
It's very fair that it's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the SEC championship just was.
We'll take it. We'll be happy. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I hope to be in Atlanta in 2018 and watching the game with some close friends.
But if they should win the Rose Bowl, there is a chance that they could go up against the Alabama Crimson Tide, which did lose to Auburn, which you guys did beat after losing to Auburn previously. So it could go either way at this point, right?
I'm not going to worry about who we play. I just want to see us in the game. If nothing else, plenty of my friends and myself included have done everything shy of offer up our firstborn to see it finally happen. We're pretty damn close right now, and all of us want to see that. If nothing else, everyone's touted the money they would put up towards this game. So the fact it's in Atlanta yields plenty of friends' homes and spaces we can stay in outside of a hotel, i.e. more money for the bar tab.
And not to digress too much, because this is a bourbon show or a whiskey show, and we are talking about bourbon and whiskey, but your coach is in his second year. There's plenty of people who have won in their second year that are there's some prestige there. You look at Jim Tressel, you look at Urban Meyer, your coach could put his name on that list. That might not be a bad thing for the people that were still calling for Mark Richt.
No, not at all. And CMR had a very good year at Miami. Almost were in the same boat as us. And, cheers to him for being successful and moving on to not moving on to greener pastures, but he's doing well as we all thought he would.
If he didn't lose to Pitt, I think it would be a better year for the Hurricanes.
You can't coach at one school forever. Those days are long gone. If nothing else, somebody's going to offer you $75 million to hang out in College Station for 10 years. Thanks, Jimbo.
Whoa! So that being said, we are digressing, but Zeke did, and this is pretty amazing, and thank you very, very much, Zeke. Zeke did bust out the Cheesy Goat Foil Wild Turkey from 1991 in our live broadcast that we did at 9:30 here on Sunday night. We are recording after the live broadcast. We do go live on Instagram Sunday nights at 9:30 whenever we can, whenever we're available. Sometimes we're not, but we really like to have that to interact with everybody, have an open discussion. Zeke busted out the Cheesy Gold Foil Wild Turkey as a celebration of the Bulldogs win. So thank you very much for that, Zeke.
No problem. Always happy to share pours, or it's what it's meant for, and always relish the good times.
And if that's the case, then I hope Georgia keeps winning, because I'll keep drinking your booze.
A national championship win would be epic, is all I will say.
So we'll bust out like a epic Will It Weeder?
Probably not a Wheater, as you like to make fun of me for saying. But there's one ready. I have it queued up.
I am going to pull for Georgia then. That's all I'm saying. So if you guys care about me at all, please pull for Georgia because I would love to drink whatever Zeke has planned for us. But we have a little bit something different planned for tonight. We aren't going through the normal blind tasting like we normally do. It is Christmas time. It is holiday season. It's BTAC time. It's Pappy time. Not everybody can get all that stuff. Some people are spending all of their money on gifts for others like me. And it's time to think about budget bourbons because we might not go out. We might not be able to spend $200 on something. It might be time to really focus on those $30 bourbons. Right, Zeke?
Indeed. It is that time of year. If you're like John and I, you have at least a child or multiples and a spouse that are all expecting very nice things. Stuff under the tree.
All I have to say is that when when your son gets older, remember that I have 2 women, and that is nothing. This isn't anything sexist. This isn't anything like that. But I am going to have to buy shoes and clothes and all sorts of stuff. And you could probably get like the kid a football and be okay.
I could, yes. But his mother doesn't see the world that way. And we have Amazon delivers daily almost. I make the running joke that our dog no longer barks at the Amazon man. It barks on a day when Amazon doesn't come. It is what it is, and Amazon doesn't come. He's all squirrely. Like, what happened? You forgot to order something? He's here the other 4 days of the week. 5. Well, they run 7 days now. Who knows?
Well, I am going to make sure that I am on email lists for Kate Spade, Tory Burch, all that stuff so I can get some coupons because I am going to need them in the years to come. But that also means that my bourbon tastes take a step back, or do they, in December? Because what we're going to do here is a little bit different. We're not going to do a blind tasting. We are just going to talk about 4 that we found that were in our shelves. We didn't go out and buy any others. Really more just to spark a conversation. What are some budget bourbons? And some of these are representative of others that are in there. So we will talk about those others. We're not going to do a blind on these, but we are just going to talk about these bourbons, what they represent, what the taste profile is, what we get from our nose, taste, finish, talk about the cost, and then talk about others that are like it. Really just to let you guys know that there are some there on the bottom shelf or some there that are in that $30 and below that you shouldn't overlook, right?
Exactly. For lack of better words, just don't sleep on the bottom shelf. There are plenty of drinkers there, regardless of what taste profile you find is striking your palate the best. You get something you don't like, it's the holiday season. We're all either going to gatherings, hosting gatherings. Plenty of people love mixed drinks. Take something that's not the best neat, straight up, however, put it in a cocktail. Nobody's going to know. Again, these are all $20 to $30 bottles. We've all spent $50 or more on something, have prayed somebody else would show up and want to drink it, or we found a way to get rid of it. But at $50 or $60, you don't want to put it in a cocktail. These, you're done.
Yeah, and the 4 that we're looking at here, we have the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, we have Old Grandad Bottled and Bond, we have an Eagle Rare Store Pick, and we have Larceny. And what these are representing are 4 different things. So Old Grandad is kind of on its own, it's a bottle and bond, but then we have the Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond. It's really representative of all that category. You have the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond, you have Old Bardstown Bottle and Bond, you have Henry McKenna Bottle and Bond. We've done that before. We are taking Heaven Hill for tonight because it's $15. It is a 6-year. It's age stated. You could put Very Old Barton in there as well. Old Grandad is kind of a step up a little bit because it's a high rye. It's a different mash bill than those other bottled and bonds are. And that's where the difference is on that. The Eagle Rare is probably going to be around $30 as a store pick, which is really good to find a nice store pick for $30. You can probably talk about, and we'll be a little repetitive here, but you could talk about a Buffalo Trace store pick in that same category. You could talk about maybe a 1792 small batch in that same category. So there are things there that are in that realm. And then last but not least, we have a Larceny, which comes in at about $25, and it's letting you know that you can find a weeded bourbon like a Buffalo Trace, that you can find those weeded bourbons for about $25 that are going to get the job done and you're going to enjoy, right?
It's definitely better than chasing around a green label Weller Special Reserve for days. We all know that that's where the market is, and unfortunately in places can be that hard to find a bottle that's that simple and inexpensive.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because what we are not including tonight is kind of that Weller line, the Weller Antique, the Weller Special Reserve, and the Weller 12, because although those are under $30 and what the retail should be, you don't always find them for under $30, and you don't always find them, period.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Texas, you're not finding Weller 12. Unless it's the sun is shining on the dog's butt on a certain day, you're not going to find a Weller Special Reserve in Nashville, Tennessee, where we live. It really has to, the wind has to be blowing the right way in order to find it at a store.
And to that point, a lot of it is the hype train that can be some bourbons now, and something that John and I work towards proving a fact from hype and what's really worth the bang for the buck this day and age.
And that's one of the things that Zeke and I are really trying to find is what is the bang for the buck. That's ultimately our impetus out of all of this, is what should you be spending your money on.
I ain't got no impotence.
Impetus.
Oh.
You are smarter than me. You should know this.
Hey, I was just putting it on the record there in case somebody else misheard what I misheard.
I'm just saying, what is the driving force behind what's our modus operandi?
Whoa. You lost me. Sorry, we do have technical issues sometimes due to verbiage. If this is your first time with us, I'm a true diehard podunk Southerner. John has been transplanted to Nashville and below the Mason-Dixon line, so he's learning slowly.
What gets us up in the morning is finding something that's a really good value. I always go back to it. We really tried to do a side-by-side on the Stag Junior versus a George C. Stag. We're really trying to find those value plays. Unfortunately, in that instance, the George C. Stag beat out the Stag Junior, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop doing blinds on things like that to really find out what's worth the bang for your buck at the end of the day.
And that's why we didn't do blinds here. Very different mashes, very different sources. As John and I both have very different palates. So we really just wanted to taste each of these, give a synopsis and tasting notes on each one, just to help steer someone into, hey, which one of these should I get? Again, even if it's only $20, we don't want anybody wasting their money based on our recommendation, steering them the wrong direction.
And it's an easy segue for me right there to say, hold on, we're going to go taste it and then we're going to come back. You brought up a point that I want to mention before we get to that. There are different profiles that people are going to be drawn to. And that's something, this time of year is a great time to hone in on what that is. So you might like a weeded more. You might like a high rye more. And we are trying to be representative of that in these four. So Old Granddad is going to be a high rye bourbon. You're going to have Larceny, which is going to be a weeded bourbon. You're going to have Heaven Hill, which is kind of somewhat in between, and Eagle Rare, which is going to be that mash bill number 1 from Buffalo Trace. So it's going to be a little bit different. But hone in on what it is you like. Do you like that higher proof? Do you like a weeded? Do you like a rye? What is that you like? And go find that. Spend your money on that. Spend time on that. Don't just get a bourbon because the label says, I've seen this around and I think a lot of people think it's really good. Find what you like.
Indeed. This is not label shopping at all. And if anything else, hang out with a store owner for a little bit or whoever's in charge of the bourbon section for the store. But it's a simple segue. I mean, how many people are walking in this time of year looking for Pappy or a BTAC or some other allocated expensive item that they don't have, and if they do, they're not going to sell them. As opposed to, hey man, which one of these bottom shelfers you think's the best? What do you like? And even if you don't agree that that's the one for you, ideally you can understand that person's taste profile and preference. And that will give you the perspective of, okay, even though this wasn't their favorite, they also said, I lean toward these. If you lean a different direction, they're going to be able to point you in that. And then down the road, you odds are really started a beneficial friendship that's only going to grow and flourish with repeated business stops, etc. Their business runs well. You make a friend. It'll be a very good symbiotic relationship.
And it's always frustrating when people say, I have $30, what should I spend my money on? And it's like, well, what do you like? And not everybody lets you know what they like, or they don't know what they like. And sometimes it can be really frustrating when somebody says, I have $30, give me a good bourbon to spend. And it's go talk to the shop owner, have a conversation. Chances are they have some stuff that they'll let you try and figure out what you like before you go buy something. And that's why I'd always say, if you're questionable on something, go try it at a bar. Go do something before you go buy a bottle.
Totally could not agree more. And
we don't agree on much. So that being said,
I do agree it is time to jump into some of this juice, Mr. Edwards.
I agree, Dr. Baker. Let's roll the tape and we will come back and talk about this stuff in a minute.
Sounds good.
All right, we took a break and we are back. We did taste the Heaven Hill Old Granddad Bottle and Bond, the Eagle Rare, and the Larceny. A little bit of run over the tape here before we get into it. The Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond is 100 proof, 50% ABV. It's 6 years. It's $15. 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley. The Old Granddad is 100 proof, 50% ABV. It's about $20. It's 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% barley. Eagle Rare is 90 proof, 45% ABV. It's 10 years. It's a $30 store pick. It is greater than 10% rye. We don't really know the mash bill. It's mash bill number 1 of Buffalo Trace. So it's not the high rye mash bill, which is mash bill number 2. It's mash bill number 1. The Larceny is a 92 proof, 46% ABV for $25. It is 75% corn, 20% wheat, and 5% malted barley.
Sounds very interesting and diverse. And
go ahead and tell us what you got for the Heaven Hill.
All right, for Mr. Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, which, side note, I think John referenced it, but if not, this is a Kentucky-only release. However, they do have a very similar release that is widely available.
The Green Label.
We would be very surprised if there was much taste difference at all. If we're wrong, tell us about it. We'll apologize.
But it's more the age.
It's what we had on hand and what we could roll with. So for a nose for the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, even off the bottle, laughingly, I told John that I just smell Butterfinger. I don't know what or why. Palate-wise, I thought it was not corn heavy or very young tasting. Decent singe, maybe a light syrup on a waffle or a pancake, and possibly, I'm going to go into left field on this one, but I think it reminds me of kudzu syrup. I haven't had it in a long time.
What is kudzu syrup?
They make syrup from kudzu.
Syrup.
They make it from kudzu. It's a very novel sweet. I used to have a friend in North Georgia that got it for me when I was younger. Haven't had it in a long time, but I really think that's the flavor I got. I don't know why.
This one was very approachable for me. So I said it was very approachable. Honey, vanilla, corn with slight oak on the nose, but it was very sweet, smoother in the beginning. And then that oak, butterscotch, brown sugar, and vanilla hit me. I didn't necessarily get a Butterfinger, but if you think about the ingredients I had, kind of is a Butterfinger, but I didn't get that like candy bar taste.
It was more nose than palate. The palate had similar tastings, but really on the nose, for whatever reason, I just thought it was a Butterfinger. I think I may have failed to mention, but finish-wise, I have muy poco in my notes.
Muy?
Muy poco.
Are you trying to speak Spanish?
Very little.
So muy poco.
Muy.
Or muy poquito.
Where I'm from, John, I say muy poco.
I got a medium finish on this one with a slight burn. That's really what I had for the notes on that. It was medium. It didn't linger too much, but it lingered just enough. Slight burn, but it was very... going back to the taste for me, it was very thin when I first had it, and then it moved to a lot of taste that came in after.
I can see that. Definitely a solid pour, and at $15, even if you drown it in a whole bunch of ice and soda, you're not gonna complain.
Yeah, I think both of us are gonna... All of these, can we just get this out of the way right now and say I would buy every single one of these that are on here?
Yeah, if you don't have them on your bar... These are very easy options as far as stocking the bar and having some diversity and random flavor profiles. And if nothing else, this is a very easy and fun way to stock the bar. Also set up some blind side-by-sides and test yourself, because there's completely different mashes in these. We're not right very often, and you may not be either. Don't feel bad about it. That's the fun.
And I think other things, kind of going in the spirit of what we're talking about, other things that are very much like this, the Evan Williams bottle and bond, the old Bardstown bottle and bond, Henry McKenna, those are those bottled and bonds in those price ranges. Old Fitzgerald, those are those things that are in that realm that you can go get.
Which this is obviously Heaven Hill's bread and butter. Tons of good juice at an affordable price.
Cheers to them for putting that out. So the old granddad for me, I'll go first on this one. The nose was caramel spice vanilla with a slight hint of fruit. The taste for me on this one, it was very smooth up front, and then the kick, it was similar to the Heaven Hill for me. I got caramel, oak, spice, vanilla, pepper with slight leather on the palate. And then the finish was medium to long. It was a little bit of a longer finish for me than the Heaven Hill. All in all, very enjoyable, and I love this at 100 proof.
Nice.
And if you can find the old Granddad 114, that's under $30 as well. So that's a great pickup, and it's a higher proof bourbon. It does have that high rye mash bill. It's very enjoyable as well.
So my notes for the OGD bottled and bond. For the nose on the OGD, I really thought it screamed out of the glass that hey, I am hot and spicy. However, on a palate wise, I actually thought it was pretty opposite of that. Very mild, mellow, smooth tasting. I got a lot of beamy nuttiness, which, sorry if that's a very poor tasting note. I've had the fortune and or misfortune of having a lot of Jim Beam in my life at this point. So
which is another great bourbon. I mean, if you think about, not to get you on a tangent, but we did talk about Distiller's Cut recently. There's the Beam Double Oaked. Beam is putting out great stuff that is not going to kill you. I know that I kind of have a negative spin towards some of the stuff Beam Suntory has been putting out with the Bookers and everything they're doing with that. Little Book is coming out at $80, but regular Beam, there's some really good stuff that's coming out at a good price point.
Yeah, not necessarily white label, but there are plenty of other Jim Beam products that have a little variance to them and aren't white label and are a little bit more, but you're not talking about significantly more. So it's interesting to try the line, I believe.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going. Proceed.
It happens, John. It happens. So as far as a finish, I thought that the spice was immediately back. Really just grabs a hold of you. It's kind of, I guess, a little bit of a rope-a-dope or something along those lines, in the sense of a very warm and spicy nose. Palate, the whole initial front of it is very mellow, not spicy. And then about halfway in, you just get, I won't say beat up, but man, that spice is back. It's there. It lets you know it, and it kicks you at least twice.
Yeah, it was good. Moving on to the Eagle Rare, I got on the nose citrus and honey. It was very, very sweet. I can't tell you enough how, even with the nose and the taste with that Eagle Rare, how sweet it was. Tasting notes, I have super, super sweet, and then I wrote sweet again, honey, brown sugar, slight oak, a lot of cherry on that too.
I think I see sweet after that too.
Yeah, there was sweet one more time. And the finish was medium for me. It lingered nicely, but not too much.
The Eagle Rare, I did enjoy as well. We will note again, just for anyone out there,
that it's sweet.
Well, it is sweet, but it is also a store pick, so it could be somewhat different from regular stock small batch.
And we should also mention that the store pick program is going to be suspended for 2018. So if you know any place right now that does have store picks of Eagle Rare, make sure you stock up if that's something that you like. The regular Eagle Rares will still be out there in 2018. If you like a certain profile, if you like your store, make sure you go find those now.
Sticking with short and brief notes for this session, on a nose for the Eagle Rare, I got black cherry, very strong. Other things were probably detectable, but literally that's what stood out the most, was just a strong black cherry smell. Palate wise, little light corn, little light heat, and then just some dark sweet fruit. Very good continuation from the nose, everything on kilter. Finish wise, there was a mild linger. It wasn't lengthy, it wasn't absent. it was just there a little bit, but for what you're looking at price range wise, I would say this is the paradigm of inexpensive, well-rounded, good tasting bourbon.
I would agree with that. There's some people that have an axe to grind against the Eagle Rare store picks or just Eagle Rare in general, and I think it's very hard to go wrong with that. I just wish the proof was a little bit higher. That's the only knock that I have on the Eagle Rare. Last but not least, the Larceny at 92 proof, 46% ABV, $25. Zeke, what do you think about this one? I went first the last two.
Larceny wise, for a nose, I had sweet, then musty to a degree. The sweetness that I picked up, which I'll just touch on the sweetness since it is a wheater and everyone seems to love those things these days. It does have a very nice sweet to it. Not overwhelming, but I think it is a barley sweet, not a wheat sweet. Strongly think that's where that comes from. We've had some ryes lately in some other shows. If you want to look back, I had Muy Poco once again. Not to sell it short, but it's not enough of a linger compared to plenty of other products, so I don't want to misrepresent.
Como se dice very little? For this one, for me, I got cherries and corn on the nose. For the taste, I got molasses, caramel, vanilla. It was a nice burn going down. There was a little bit, it was smooth in the beginning, and then a very nice burn in my chest. I wrote down thick, nutty candy bar. It was kind of like a bean taste, which is interesting for me because it's Heaven Hill. I got a medium finish on this, but I thought this one tasted a little bit hotter than a 92 proof. And maybe I have celiac disease or something. It tasted a little bit hotter to me than 92 proof, but I really enjoyed it.
Very nice, very nice. So although this was not a side-by-side or head-to-head competition, where would you go, Mr. Edwards?
I would probably say out of all of these, I liked the Larceny the best.
Oh, wow.
Which is surprising for me, considering the other things that we have there. The Eagle Rare, the Old Granddad, and the Heaven Hill. I really enjoyed that candy bar taste of the Larceny.
I guess I'll ask myself the same question.
Yeah, I was going to say, Zeke, what about you?
Toss up. I think on this particular day I would go Eagle Rare, not necessarily because of the taste, but it's wintertime, it's cold out. There's just more to me that resonates right now with Eagle Rare. If it was spring or summer, I think I would have gone with Heaven Hill. Nice, sweeter, vibrant. I see sunny days with the Heaven Hill, and I can enjoy a dark solstice night when it gets dark at 4:45 outside with Eagle Rare.
But I do enjoy all of these, but I'm a fat guy at heart, and that candy bar just kind of won me over.
Sucked you in, huh?
Yeah, it did. We should mention again that all of these are good. I would take any single one of these. I do have every single one of these in my bar. It's something that we just want you to rethink how you drink and go and look at the bottom shelf, look at some other stuff around this time of year. Don't always feel like you need to spend $200 to get a good bourbon.
And some other options which aren't here just for time constraints, obviously, that I jotted down. Wild Turkey 101. Don't sleep on it, especially I think for our generation.
And this is the travel season. It is the house bourbon for Southwest Airlines, so that's a plus too.
And the highest proof. But again, don't sleep on it. I think a lot of people in our generation probably had too much of it in a quick, massive quantity at field parties. It's actually good juice. My second note is Elijah Craig.
Great choice.
Didn't make it, and it is another Heaven Hill product, so we tried to inundate you guys with those things. But a different mash bill, different flavors. There are some subtleties to it, but just really good. And don't let anyone tell you that because it no longer says 12-year age stated, you shouldn't buy it because it's good.
And you can find store picks that are 12-year anyway. Okay, store picks are the last thing on Zeke Notes, and I would agree. All right, Zeke, it is getting late. Our pumpkin is showing up. We've been live. Make sure you go find us at 9:30 on Sunday nights, Central Time, on Instagram Live at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us on Twitter at Bourbon Dads. Find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us on Instagram again at Dad's Drinking Bourbon.
Find us in Nashville. We're more than happy to share some pours with you. We've been fortunate enough to have some viewers stop in recently and had a really good time with it. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, if you're here on a Sunday night, if it's Sunday night at 9:30 and you're in Nashville, hit us up. We'd love to have you here, do a blind tasting with us. But you can also find our podcast on Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, a link on our profile at Dad's Drinking Bourbon on Instagram or Twitter. And you know what? Just leave us a 5-star review, please. We would love it. If you don't love it, send us a direct message. Tell us what we could do better. Anything you want to tell the folks, Zeke, before we go out?
Go Dogs!
Woo! Cheers. We'll see you next week.